Senior tracker Veltosh had been monitoring galactic traffic patterns for over 3 centuries. Her bioneural interfaces could simultaneously track thousands of vessels across 17 star systems, predicting their trajectories with mathematical precision. Every ship in known space moved according to the fundamental laws of physics: thrust vectors, momentum conservation, gravitational influences. These were constants as reliable as the rotation of planets. Until today. Contact bearing 27 Mark 8 reported Junior Tracker Nix from the monitoring station aboard the orbital platform Eternal Vigil. Designation: unknown. Configuration: unknown. Origin: unknown. Veltosh's 6 sensory appendages twitched with irritation. Elaborate Nix. Unknown configurations don't simply appear in monitored space. Tracker Veltosh, you need to see this directly. The main holographic display materialized, showing a 3-dimensional representation of local space. Ship signatures appeared as distinct energy patterns. Each species had characteristic propulsion signatures, heat emissions, and gravitic disturbances. Veltosh could identify the origin of any vessel simply by observing its movement pattern. But the contact Nix had detected defied every parameter in their database. "Show me the trajectory analysis," Veltosh commanded. The display updated, revealing the mystery vessel's path through space over the past 6 hours. Veltosh studied it for several seconds before her sensory appendages began to curl in confusion, an involuntary response that hadn't occurred in over 50 years of service. "This is impossible," she whispered. The ship's path didn't follow any known propulsion pattern. Instead of the smooth curves and predictable acceleration patterns that characterized all spacefaring technology, this vessel moved in sharp angles, instantaneous direction changes, and velocities that seemed to ignore both momentum and energy conservation. It accelerated from 0 to 0.7 light speed in 1.3 seconds, Nix reported, his voice tight with disbelief. No energy signature consistent with such acceleration. Then it stopped instantaneously and changed direction by 90 degrees without any apparent thrust. Veltosh activated her personal analysis protocols, connecting directly to the station's most sophisticated tracking systems. The data stream flowed through her consciousness like digital poetry, but the poetry made no sense. "Magnify the vessel itself," she ordered. The display zoomed in, revealing a ship unlike anything in the galactic registry. It appeared to be of human construction, roughly cylindrical, with the crude but functional aesthetic typical of that young species, but it was moving through space in ways that violated every principle of stellar engineering. "Tracker Veltosh," came a voice from the command center. "This is Director Zoth. We're receiving urgent communications from monitoring stations throughout the sector. They're all reporting the same phenomenon, a human vessel that exhibits impossible movement characteristics." Veltosh's appendages coiled tighter. If multiple stations were observing the same anomaly, this wasn't a sensor malfunction or local spatial distortion. "Director, request permission to deploy close-range observation drones." "Granted." "And Veltosh, find out what we're dealing with." Over the next 4 hours, Veltosh launched a dozen of the sector's most advanced tracking drones, each equipped with sensors capable of detecting energy signatures across 17 different spectrums. The results only deepened the mystery. The human ship designated by its transponder as the UES Wanderer continued to move in patterns that should have been physically impossible. It would travel in perfectly straight lines for several minutes, then suddenly exist in a completely different location without any observable transition. It curved around gravitational fields that should have captured it, and at one point appeared to travel through the solid matter of an asteroid without displacing a single particle of rock. "Are we observing some form of teleportation technology?" Nix asked. Veltosh studied the data streams flowing through her consciousness. "No, Teleportation would show characteristic energy signatures at departure and arrival points. This vessel, it appears to simply redefine its relationship with local spacetime. The breakthrough came when one of her drones managed to get close enough to the Wanderer to detect quantum field fluctuations around its hull. The readings were unprecedented. The ship seemed to exist in a state of controlled quantum uncertainty, where its position, velocity, and even its fundamental interaction with physics remained deliberately undefined until the moment it chose to resolve into a specific state. Director Zoth, Veltash transmitted, "I believe the humans have developed technology that allows them to exist in quantum superposition on a macroscopic scale. The ship doesn't move through space. In the conventional sense, it exists in multiple possible locations simultaneously and selects which reality to manifest." There was a long pause before the director responded. "That's theoretical impossibility, Tracker. Quantum effects don't scale to objects larger than subatomic particles." "Sir, I'm transmitting the complete sensor logs. The evidence is undeniable." As if responding to their conversation, the Wanderer suddenly appeared directly alongside the Eternal Vigil, close enough that its hull was visible through the observation ports. No energy signature, no approach vector, no transition period. It simply chose to exist there. A communication channel opened, and a human voice filled the tracking station. "This is Captain Sarah Park of the UES Wanderer. Sorry if we've caused any confusion with your monitoring systems." Veltash activated the response channel with trembling appendages. "Captain Park, your vessel exhibits movement characteristics that appear to violate fundamental physics. How are you achieving this?" "Oh, that," Captain Park's voice carried what humans called amusement. "We stopped thinking of space and time as fixed constraints about a decade ago. Turns out, reality is a lot more flexible than most species assume. We just learned to ask nicely if we could borrow different rules for a while." The Wanderer began to fade from sensors again, its quantum signature dispersing across multiple probability states. "We'll be more careful about startling your tracking systems in the future. The galaxy's a big place, but apparently not big enough to hide from really good sensors." Captain Park's voice took on a more serious tone. "Fair warning though, if you're tracking us this closely, you've probably noticed we're not the only ones experimenting with non-conventional physics. There are things moving through space that make our little quantum tricks look primitive. You might want to upgrade your detection protocols for encounters with species that don't play by anyone's rules." The transmission ended, and the Wanderer simply ceased to exist in local space, not departing, not transitioning to hyperspace, just resolving its quantum uncertainty in favor of being elsewhere. Veltash stared at her sensor displays for several minutes, processing the implications. For 3 centuries, she had monitored space based on the assumption that all technology operated within known physical constraints. The humans had just demonstrated that physical constraints were merely suggestions. "Nix," she said finally. "Begin a complete overhaul of our tracking protocols. We need to prepare for contacts that might not exist in the same reality we do." As she initiated emergency reports to Galactic Command, Veltash realized that the humans hadn't just developed new technology, they had fundamentally changed the rules of existence itself. And if Captain Park was correct about other species following similar paths, the galaxy was about to become a much stranger and more dangerous place. In her final log entry of the day, Veltash wrote, "The humans have taught us that the universe is far more malleable than we believed. This discovery is either the beginning of a new era of exploration, or the end of everything we thought we understood about reality."